Hey, if you're diabetic and you want to build some muscle and you like carbs, I got good news for you because in this training, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And also, I'm not a doctor. So this is that disclaimer area here. I don't know exactly what the wording is, but don't take my word for it. Who knows who the hell I am? I'm just a guy that's trained hundreds of people, tens of which are diabetic, build a lot of muscle. That's my flex. But still, don't sue me. Talk to your doctor. Google it yourself. Double check the facts that I'm telling you. My job is to just make it easy and digestible so you're actually having fun while you're eating your cereal or whatever. I'm on your YouTube saying hi and helping you out. Okay, so if you're diabetic, most likely you've demonized carbs, you're scared of carbs, you're restricting yourselves from carbs, and unfortunately, carbs is probably something you really like. So now you're in this tough situation. And in this video, I'm going to completely reframe it. All right. I'm not going to make carbs a bad thing. I'm actually going to show you how, if you want to have carbs, when to have carbs in a way that actually allows you to build muscle and change how you look in the mirror. So before I get into it, I want to make sure we're all on the same page with what the hell is diabetes. Okay. Now, you guys probably know more than me, but in the context of this presentation, let me just make sure. Okay, diabetes is your body's inability to move the blood sugar, the sugar in your blood somewhere else. And if you eat food, right, let me show you. I'm a really good painter, by the way. This is teeth. And you eat the food, and the food is carbs, right? Let's say it's carbs. When those carbs get broken down, it gets broken down into sugar, and then that sugar goes into your blood. And then if that sugar that goes into your blood, if it stays there, right, this is your vein, I guess, and then there's sugar molecules. If it doesn't get out of there fast, right, you got a stopwatch timer. If it doesn't get out of there fast enough, it will kill you, all right? Blood sugar is toxic, but good thing our bodies have this nice little device called insulin, these homies that pull up and say, yo, sugar, follow me. I'll tell you where to go. And the sugar's like, oh, where do I go? And it takes the sugar, it stores some of it into the muscle, it stores some of it elsewhere. And that sugar then gets used for energy, right? The whole ATP process. But let's just roll back the clip a bit. This system here and insulin's ability to get invited to the party and kind of coerce the sugar to come out of the blood is where the diabetes problem stems from. It's not a problem. I guess you could say it is. You'd like it to work, right? So your body doesn't listen to the insulin. The insulin shows up, it says, yo, come, and the sugar says, nah, right? And so that's why you could die from it. But I want to reframe it so it's not about having 1 gram of carb and then your body dies, right? And so because of this system, people generally say, they make this huge, bold claim. Carbs is bad. All carbs is bad. But there's a couple reasons why that's not exactly true. And because carbs is bad, they just stop eating it entirely. And they get scared. And they have to tiptoe around things. I want to empower you, if you're diabetic, to understand what's really happening here and how you can actually have carbs and build muscle. So, first of all, there's 2 steps, right? First is about meal timing. Normal day for an American person in the Western world. They wake up at 7, they go to bed at 10, and they have 3 main meals: breakfast, lunch, dinner. Standard person, right? And then they probably have snack 1 and snack 2 minimum. They might even have a dessert in the evening time. Each time they have one of these meals, they're having carbs, right? So their blood sugar of a graph over the course of time is probably up here, up here, up here, up here. Normally a human would be like this. But because you can't regulate your blood sugar, it's just staying up all day. And that's very toxic, right? And so the first thing we want to do, the first major change, is not to demonize carbs and remove them all entirely, because let's be honest, guys, who's actually doing this? No one, right? And we're just living an unhealthy life. So instead, first step is to take the amount of carbs you're having, throughout the day. And, I'm a coach, so I prescribe my clients a certain amount of calories throughout the day, 150 grams, 200 grams. You first got to be clear with, what is my bandwidth of carbs in the day? It's not 0 carbs, guys, 150. And then you can reverse engineer what are meals that can add up to that. If you have 2 meals that have a standard amount of carbs, right, instead of 5, you have meal 1 and meal 2. Those can have carbs, a normal amount of carbs. Don't go crazy. I'm not a doctor. And then these other meals, breakfast, dinner, they don't have carbs, right? No carbs. This would be like a protein shake. This would be like Greek yogurt. If it doesn't, you could have like carb-free Greek yogurt. You can get into it. Separate video. But if these 2 meals have carbs, that's a lot better. Because all of a sudden now, instead of it being 7 meals with carbs, you're just intentional. You're like, which meals are my carb meals? Now, what that doesn't mean is take 7 meals worth of carbs and fit it into 2. That wouldn't be great. It's just be more intentional and choose which one. So if you're someone that enjoys a little bit of a later night snack, have it then. Or if you want it earlier in the day, have it then. Really, and start to notice what feels better for you. But you want to know the killer? Now, this is how you build muscle eating carbs. I'm going to go one step further. Remember the whole system about carbs and how your body doesn't listen to the insulin, so the blood sugar doesn't come out? Your body actually is more insulin sensitive at certain parts of the day. So it's not like you just don't work. There's times where you do work and your blood sugar moves. So the question is, when is that? It's when you train, when you lift weights. Okay? So now we got meal 1 and we got meal 2. And this is your training window, right? Training. You're at the gym lifting weights. Here, when you're training, you're very insulin sensitive. Why? Because remember that process where the food becomes sugar, right? Glucose. And then it gets stored into the muscle as glycogen. That glycogen is what you use for energy, right? So this breakdown process. So if you're lifting a lot of weights, you're using a lot of glycogen. When you're using a lot of glycogen, it's kind of like a car. You get tapped out, right? Once you fill up the tank, you can't fill it up anymore. But as you're using the glycogen in your training, it gets emptied out, which means there's more room and your body realizes, I need to fill the muscles with glycogen. Therefore, I'm going to be a little more sensitive. I need to use it. So I'm going to. Remember, the whole reason we even got here, if you're the type of diabetes that isn't genetic, but it's something you've created yourself, it's because you were not using those carbs. And so because you weren't using the carbs, there's a lot of different factors. Your body's response to insulin started to diminish. But now we're actually improving that relationship. We're actually saying, hey, I'm using it, so please fill it up the tank again, right? So when you have your first meal with carbs and then you train, you're now using the carbs for your muscles. When you have more energy available now from the carbs and you're using it and your glycogen is full in your muscles, you will lift more weights. When you lift more weights, you build more muscle. When you build more muscle, you look better in the mirror. When you look better in the mirror, all of a sudden, this idea of demonizing carbs is like, oh no, it's not that carbs are bad or good. In context, I could actually position my carbs around a training window. And now after my training, carbs are still depleted. How do we refill the glycogen in the muscle? Okay, let's have some carbs after the main meal as well. So basically, limit your carbs to 2 meals. One before your training, one after. And also, think about it in a curious, fun way. If there are carbs that you enjoy, instead of just having them randomly in the evening time, really be intentional and say, if I want to enjoy that thing, I'm going to have it, and that thing is going to help me build more muscle. So I'm going to have it right before the gym, so I've treated myself. Then I do something that's really good and helpful for me, and I've now connected 2 positive habits together, right? And that is the habit forming process that is what builds you up with momentum. This is what I teach my clients. It's about tying the things we already love in life together in a way that excites us and gives us the tangible results we want, instead of resisting and hiding and avoiding. So that's the lesson for today. We got it at 10 minutes, a little longer than I was expecting, but I really enjoyed this one. If you guys have any other questions, I'm doing Q&As all the time in my free community below. So click it. I do live Zoom calls. You guys can jump on calls with me. And, if you're shy, just comment below your question. I'll create a free training about it as well. All right. See you guys.